Well, I'm glad to be back, and we are jumping into Colossians 1:21, just continuing from chapter 19 and 20, or verse 19 and 20. But hey, good morning or good evening, whatever time you might be watching this. Good afternoon, even. But here's the color key if you want to pause the video and look at that if you need that. Got to do that, but we kind of went through the section of Christ's supremacy, his preeminence, his supremacy over us and over creation, his reconciliation. We just started into that in the last video, and we're continuing in that because here, this is what we add to the gospel. This is the need for the good news. Verse 21, it says, and you who once were alienated and hostile in mind, doing evil deeds, he has now reconciled in his body of flesh by his death in order to present you holy and blameless and above reproach before him. So this is as I think Spurgeon said, the only thing we add to our salvation is the need for it. And this is the verse, you were once alienated, Brown being kind of our sins to avoid or the effects of sin or the basic nature of man is we were hostile in our mind. That's who we are, doing evil deeds. This is who we are by nature. We don't like to think of it that way. We don't like to look at ourselves this way, but we were alienated, separated from God, and hostile in our mind. That's talking about like if you look at Romans 1 or Romans 8. And let's see, I would think that's about... Oh, I gotta look. And this is my Bible off screen that you're maybe hearing flip. I don't know. But Romans chapter 8. Let's see. Verse 7 talks about this, that the sinful mind is hostile to God, and it does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. Those controlled by the sinful nature cannot please God. So that's actually Romans 8, 7 to 8. But when you look at this, we're hostile in our mind. We actually fight against him. It talks about this even in Leviticus, that we remain hostile to God by rejecting his commands, by fighting against him. And so this is our basic nature. This is who we are. This is what we're born to. Ephesians even talks about that we're by nature children of wrath, and that's Ephesians 2. And again, for brevity's sake, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be, but I gotta find it for you. Ephesians 2, verses 1, and then, you go all the way through this, and he says, as for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sins in which you used to live when you followed the ways of the world and the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. And all of us who lived among them at one time, gratifying the cravings of the sinful nature and following its desires and thoughts. Like the rest, were by nature objects of wrath. So that's Ephesians 2, 1 through 3. And again, once I get more cross references and I've done more study, which takes more time than a 5-minute video, I like to put these in. You'll probably start seeing in future videos some of the cross references going on there. But this is our base nature, and we've got to recognize this, not so that we feel bad about ourselves, not so that we just hate that we're just this way and feel sorry for ourselves. Really, that's the end goal sometimes of our flesh. We fool ourselves by trying to fake humility. But this is a recognition that this is who we are. We're hostile towards the Lord by nature. And I think I mentioned Leviticus, and I'll have to look that up for that, of how we stay hostile. But this is who we are, and it takes the Spirit being in us through the death and resurrection, as he talks about. He reconciled us through his body, the death and resurrection of Jesus, that actually gives us that freedom and ability to come back to the Lord and be in agreement, to walk in a new mind, a new way, in a relationship with him. But this is who we are by our base nature. We're separated, we're alienated from the life of God, that you have even in chapter 4 of Ephesians, where he talks about because of the hardening of our hearts, we're separated from the life of God. We're hostile in our mind. We don't want the things of God. And yet through him, through Jesus, he makes a way so that he changes our thinking, changes our hearts, changes the whole direction of our life, changes our relationship with the Lord himself, so that we actually can be reconciled, as it says. But we'll hit that in the next verse. But for now, that's Colossians 1:21, and we'll go on from there next time. So, hey, thanks for joining us.